Hey guys, this is Francesca from Under the Covers, and today I am here to give you guys an update on my planning system, and in particular I want to tell you guys how I did my basically DIY planner. So the last planning video that I did was in July, and I was trying to participate in the One Book July challenge, basically having everything in one planner, and in a way that's sort of always been my goal, to have everything in one place. For that challenge I was using an A5 Hobonichi, and I quickly realized that there were things about it that I loved. I absolutely loved it, but there were also a lot of things that it wasn't being a complete system for me, and I really needed to do something else. So as much as I loved the planner, and I still have it, and hopefully I'll find a use for it, I had to quickly ditch that, and I didn't complete the 1 month July challenge. What I did work on quickly in the month of July and then in August was trying out and testing out certain things, and I really sat down with my system and I tried to put everything into an arc bound system. I had an old Martha Stewart junior size disc bound planner, or I guess the cover for it, and I wanted to see if I could make that work and include everything that I wanted into one system. So I tested that out. It got really thick. I bought expander rings from Happy Planner, and it ended up being this massively thick planner. And yes, everything was in one place, but I really hated having something so bulky with me. So I sat down again in the month of August, and I broke this down into things that I need with me every day when I'm planning, and things that I don't need to have access to all the time. So what I've come up with is a system that has been working for me since the month of August. And all the inserts I am currently using are inserts I designed myself. Some of them are already available on my shop, my printable shop on Etsy. Some of them aren't, but probably will be going up on there. So let me walk you through the system. So the basics of the system is that I'm using two components, and I don't mean that I'm separating my planning into different areas of my life so that I have different planners for it. I'm just separating it into the things that I need all the time with me, that I need to access all the time, are in this arc bound junior size, I guess, notebook you could say. And then my future planning, or any type of lists or collections or things that I don't need to have all the time with me, are in this A5 KikiK. Another way of how I choose what goes into each one of these is basically things that I want to save for future use. So I'm one of those people that saves planner pages, and a lot of that has to do with referencing when did I have a certain appointment, or maybe some work information, if a certain bill got paid in 1 month. So I just like to have certain things saved, but other things not so much. So I really sat down and figured out what I really needed to save when I transfer my pages into my storage binder, and what I don't. And basically everything that's in this KikiK is something that once it's done, I can throw it out. And things that go into this notebook most likely will need to be saved for future use and will go into a storage binder. The reason I used the arc bound system for those kind of things that I need to keep for future use is because this system is really easy and inexpensive for me to have a binder that will save the pages for future use, whereas with a KikiK or in any kind of ring bound system, you really need to have a ring bound planner to put your pages in. You need something to keep those pages in. I don't really like to save them loose, like in a box or anything like that. So that would end up being a more costly approach. So everything that's in this planner is something that I can get rid of at one point or another, and everything in here are things that I want to save. So that was one distinction. And when I say that in August I tried to have everything in one planner, I basically had everything that's in here and everything that's in here into one massive disc bound planner with the biggest expansion rings that Happy Planner sells. And it was just something so thick for me to use on a daily basis that I was uncomfortable with it. So what I figured out is that I like these small rings. I believe these are 3/4 of an inch, or maybe they're 1 inch. I will check and make sure that I leave in the comments below the size of the rings. But they're the smallest ones. They came with the arc bound notebook that I purchased, and I really like to have this size as my everyday, let's call it an everyday carry. Anything bigger than this I'm not comfortable with, so I try to limit myself to that. Whenever this starts getting chunky, I know I need to take something out. So first I'm going to walk you through what's in my KikiK. So like I said, on here I have things that are more of future planning, someday lists, master tasks list, brain dump ideas, things like that just need a home so that I don't lose them, but I don't necessarily want to look at them every day. So I'm not going to really talk too much about where I got everything from. There's a lot of Ollie clips. I'll leave a link down to their shop below. I really like their stuff. And all the dividers and dashboards in here right now I made myself, just digital scrapbook paper and digital clip art that I purchased, and I put things together, laminated them however I thought it would look good. Same with this is also a divider that with digital scrapbook paper. So that's pretty much all the things that are in here are things that I made myself that way. And this piece of hard vellum is from a really old Erin Condren. It's been in pretty much every single ring bound planner that I put together. I just move it from planner to planner, so this is nothing new. Again, this dashboard I made with digital scrapbook paper, a couple of die cuts that I had, digital clip art I purchased. And like I said, the whole guts of this planner and everything that I'm using, I've designed myself, and I either have currently on my Etsy shop as printables or I will have. Same thing with this owner information sheet. I designed that. I'm just covering my information right now. This lunar calendar I printed off of, I think, Pinterest, and I was going to include the dates in my monthly calendar for future planning, but I just thought it was too much work to do that, so I just literally printed this image from Pinterest. And the only reason I need that handy is because I use the moon phases for either cutting my hair or waxing. Next up is the yearly overview for 2017 and 2018, and I have the special dates and holidays and things like that for 2017, 18, and 19. Then I have a section for goals, so I did a little cover page for that. I also included a page for my word of the year, which I haven't really done the action and meaning of it, and it might continue being the same word of the year for next year, so it can continue to serve its purpose. And then I printed what I had done as a divider for an old ring bound system. I already had it in my computer. I just printed that here so I could have a picture. So next up I have my vision board, and my vision board I'm not going to show you guys, but it's the same one that I've had in my traveler's notebook. As you can see, it's not quite the right size, but I just literally took what I had in my traveler's notebook and I put it in some page protectors. I put some washi tape so that it would look nice and neat at the edges, and hole punched it, and here it is, and it just opens up and it's in there. I tend to look at this planner at least once a day. So next up is my first section, and again I made this divider with digital scrapbook paper, and I just traced over an old KikiK divider in order to get the right sizing and where the tabs were. So this is my plan section. This is where my future planning goes, and all I have in here, some pictures and some vellum. This is vellum from the 1407 planners, and as you can see, this is future. And in here I basically only have monthly calendars, and I have from September all the way through June of 2018. So the only thing I've done on here is I've washi taped the edges of every single month so that I could already have it with the holes punched. And I do come in here and sort of decorate the month, maybe a couple of months ahead. But technically what my regular future planning looks like is sticky notes. So if there's something specific for a day, I have it on the day. And I have a larger sticky note on each month where I can write any to-dos or anything that's coming up. So I do have a sticky note already set up for every single month. And like I said, I do come in here and decorate things. That was September, October. I am using an old divider that I had made way back when I was using a ring binder as my daily planner. And like I said, I decorate ahead a couple of months. So November's done, December is done, and January is still sort of done, but it still has my little sticky note because I'm not sure what else needs to be done. And that's basically what my future planning section looks like. After that, at the end of that, I have some dot grid, and anything that is for past the dates of what I have here, which is June 2018, I just sort of write it down and make notes on here so that I know that later on I need to work on it or I need to add it to my next printout of monthlies. Now on this section, I also have a folder, and for right now, most of the things that I have on here are tickets for upcoming things that I've purchased, but anything that has to do with future planning that needs a place to be stored, that's where it goes. And in this case, I'm not talking about bills. I do keep my paper bills sort of on my desk on a little mail holder. After that, I have a little half divider that I made for sticky notes, and like I told you, I use those for future planning. So I have those on here. I have some pictures here, a card from Bubba Bear Studios, which I really like, and I thought it really went with the season right now. It's starting to get cold. So my next section is for blog, and what I have on here for blog are things that once it's planned, once it's taken care of and it's addressed, I can throw it out. I don't really need to reference any of this back, and I don't want to store these things when I move things into my storage binder. So again, I put a little piece of vellum and I made a little cover. So basically on here, what things look like is on one side, I've printed my list of reviews due for the month. Once everything is highlighted, it means I've done everything that I needed to do for that review. And then usually I have a dot grid page on the side where I keep track of videos I need to either film, post, or whatever. And then I'm also using this as a guide for books I need to read for the roundabout challenge. I'm really trying to be conscious of reading the books that I put on my challenge at the beginning of the year that I wanted to read. So I sort of make myself a list every month of which books I want to read, and then I just highlight them if I actually manage to read them. Next up, I have a monthly calendar, and what I use this for is when I plan out the schedule for the month. Usually I have all of this information in a digital calendar. I use Teamwork as far as the digital calendar and editorial calendar for the blog, but this helps me in terms of what I need to work on. So if I have a post with an author, say on the 4th, I can make myself a note whether I need to send interview questions, whether I've sent them, whether I've received the material from the author, and I highlight it once it's drafted. Also using this when I schedule ahead post on social media. So for example, on Instagram or Facebook, I just mark little colored dots when things have been scheduled ahead so that I know that something is there for that day. And then I also make myself a to-do list for the month on the side, whether it's for posts, whether it's for admin work that needs to be done or anything like that, or posts that we need to work on for months ahead. I know what needs to be on the forefront of my mind in terms of blog work. So everything is pretty much set up, and sometimes I decorate this more, sometimes I don't. And in here I only have through December. And then for books that I've already received for review past that, I'm just making myself a note that I have them on here. So whenever I print more monthlies and set up more pages in here, I can fill that in where it goes. Then this is still part of the blog section, but I wanted to separate what is sort of my planning section with my reading section. And I've printed a month on a page in vertical, and this is part of the monthly kits that I sell in my shop. What I did notice that I didn't want to have this page with my other planner, because this is something that once I finish the month I want to throw it away. And also there are things from one month that I may not review until maybe a month and a half later, so I do like to keep this handy, and I don't want to have to take it out of my planner and then not have it available. So this whole section here has August, September, and October for right now, or actually in November. So what I use this vertical calendar for is for books that I finish reading. So I literally mark down, kind of like Goodreads, I mark down everything that I finish reading and on what day. If it's something that's already been reviewed on the blog that I don't have to worry about, I cross it off. And if it's something that I have to review, it doesn't get crossed off and it gets highlighted once I've written the review. Having this visual also helps me quickly to see how many books I read for the month, and if there's something that really stands out, if I wanted to, I could make notes right here. And I just sort of print these out whenever I design the kits for the monthly kits that I sell in my shop, so that they are themed and designed and they're pretty to look at. So next up, I just have a list of ideas, whether it's for posts or for videos or anything like that, it just goes on there. So next up is my notes section. So in the notes section, I actually have this divided into two things, and I probably should have two dividers, but I didn't really want two dividers. I did laminate the sort of like cover sheet that I made for each one of those sections. So first I have collections, and in here I have a master to-do list, and I've separated that between like home, blog, life kind of things, and then some for work, a shopping list, and this is not for groceries, it's for like other items, a watch list for shows that I am currently watching. I also made an insert for movies, and I really like how this turned out because it's really easy to see which movies I've watched, and I can actually rate them right there. The only thing that I haven't really started doing is putting the date of when I watched them, but I'll probably do that more often. Then again, the laminated cover page for regular notes, and in here is more of like brain dump and some day lists and things like that. I've included another pocket folder just in case I need to hold on to anything else. And then another Bubba Bear Studio card because I really think it's cute. I have a pocket divider that just has some washi tape, some stickers from Erin Condren, and some scrap pieces of cardstock. And another dashboard with sticky notes. So as you can see what's in here, it's functional for me. I do use it, but I don't need to carry this with me all the time, which is why having it on a separate binder really works for me, because as you can see, this is pretty chunky. So there's no need for me to carry all of this around with me since I don't use all this information all the time. Now with that being said, this is where all the planning happens. And what I'm using here is a clear cover from Levenger, and the discs that I have on here are from, I think you say this, Tulle, T-U-L. They're silver. This cover came with black ones, and these came with the cover that I'm going to show you that I'm using for my storage of my pages. So I sort of like just swapped the two because I like the look of it, but this clear cover comes with black ones, the same size as this. So now what I wanted the clear for is because I like to make my own dashboards and my own covers and things like that and change it up and change up the look. So with the clear one, you can still see through to the cover that I made. And for the past few months, I've been laminating this. This particular month, the dashboards or dividers or whatever you want to call it that I put in here, I didn't laminate. I was kind of lazy, I guess. And I just used black cardstock. I punched the holes. I made it to whatever size I needed it to be. And then I printed my cover to match the size. And I literally just used a tape runner and I taped that down, and that's all I did. And the back of this is a digital scrapbook paper. Again, I just cut it to size, taped it down, and it's done. I'm not really rough with my planners, so not having it laminated has worked okay for me. So next is a piece of vellum, and this is clear vellum that I bought on Amazon. I'll leave a link down below because it's actually worked out really well, and I printed this myself with a digital download that I purchased. These white dividers that I'm using here, they're also from Levenger, and I used my label maker in gold on clear to label each section. So first up, I have my monthly section. Again, black cardstock. I had made the cover, and this is part of my monthly kit that I sell in my shop. I just cut it down so that it fits on here, used a tape runner and glued it down, Same with the back. This is a free printable from Fox and Cactus, and what I'm planning on using this for this month, because I figure it's Halloween, I'll probably be dressing up and I have the house all decorated, so I want to take some pictures and put these here as a memory keeping. It's not something that I'll have every month, but for this month I wanted to have it. So the first thing in here is my monthly calendar, and the monthly calendar that I use on my everyday kind of planner is strictly for bills. So for me, seeing bills on like a list or it's some kind of table doesn't really work, and seeing them as part of my monthly layout in this style really works for me. And the monthly that I use is basically the one that's decorated that I include in my kit. So after that, I have a brain dump section, I have a monthly to-do list section. I've brought back my monthly project planning, because I feel that anytime I take that away from my planning system, things don't get done and projects just sit there and not get looked at for months or even years. So I brought this section back, which has been working well for me. And then I have a work list. This is also a digital download that I purchased, printed this, and I just used a tape runner to make it double-sided, and then I ran this through the laminator and cut it, and it sort of serves as a bookmark. So next up, I designed this Instagram challenge prompts page, and I just filled it in with 4 challenges that I try to sort of follow along with, and this month I really haven't been good at it at all, but it's there if I want to try and follow along with it. And I've already done the cover for November, although I haven't really printed any of the inserts yet, but the cover is there. So next up is my weekly section, and here I used acetate to make a little pocket, and this is also a digital download that I bought, and I made it into sort of a bookmark if I need to use it. I did create a sort of a dashboard for each section because I like my dividers to be a little bit more plain and white, but I still want something that looks pretty in each section. So each section has a little bit of a dashboard, and again, this is just scrapbook paper, it's not laminated, I just glue this down with a tape runner. So in this section, it's literally just my weeklies, and this is vertical weeklies that I printed myself. So I try to keep only the current month in here. And what I've been doing is I'm using a week on 2 pages vertical layout, and that is because I do want to keep these pages when I move this into my storage binder. What I don't feel like I need to keep in my storage binder are my daily to-do lists. So what I decided to do was write my to-do list in a half letter page that I can just stick into the week whenever I need to write to-dos, and I can work off of that. Whenever it's done, I can simply throw this out. And if I need more than one per week, I simply have more in the back and I can just use more. But all those to-do lists, I don't really like for them to bulk up my storage planner, so that has been really working well for me. And like I said, this is literally just through the end of October, and then I need to print my new month. So the next section is lists. Again, a dashboard that I made myself. Then I have some ideas, things, resources, inserts, things to buy, some brain dump, ideas about shows I want to watch. So whatever is sort of a list goes on here. And this is a card from Simply Gilded. So the next section is sort of, I'm calling it my health section, and that is because I started doing a food log again. And I've gone back and forth a lot with how I wanted to do this. I've used inserts for it and not, and what's been working well is just simply using dot grid paper and just writing things down sort of like a log. And that's it. I have this piece of acetate in here, don't ask me why, there's no reason. And then last I have a notes section, again with a dashboard that I made. And what I've been doing in terms of notes is I put the date, and whatever note I need to have for that date gets written in there. So basically none of the notes for the day go on a daily. They just go on here, and I put the date, I put my note, I put the next date, I put my note, and that's basically how that works. After that, I have a dashboard. This came from my traveler's notebook. I literally just cut it and punched holes in it, and it has my sticky notes. And then in here I have this was a Martha Stewart pocket, and I had this from when I had my Martha Stewart planner. It's literally just a clear pocket folder. It's really sturdy. And in here I have a today marker. I have the page flags that I use in my habit or food log. I have some sticky notes. I have the half-page daily sort of paper that I use. Some are just dot grid, some have the lines with the design for the month. So I can just pretty much use whatever I'm feeling like at the moment. And then I have some punched paper from a notepad, and I have some Martha Stewart to-do list that I have a pad of this that was really old. I guess you could call this my storage for my dailies, because that's really all I use these for. And behind here I have the other half of that vellum that I printed and I put at the beginning so that it sort of covers the back of that folder. And then it's my back cover, which is just again scrapbook paper. This was in my traveler's notebook. I literally took it out of that and taped it down here. And this back cover I designed from digital scrapbook paper and digital clip art that I purchased. And again, it has the clear so that you can see it. So when it comes to DIYing your own planner, which is basically what I've done here, all it takes is really for you to sit down and think about what you really need to plan, what sections work for you, and then just testing things out. Basically, if you're going to use an arc-bound system, which I highly recommend, and the reason why this hasn't worked for me before is because I was using the larger rings and I was not a fan of maybe sometimes how loose it felt and also how clunky it got. But with this size ring, I have to say it's worked really well for me. And another big thing of why this is working for me right now is because I was able to find paper that I could literally just print and not have to cut. So cutting inserts is what really kills me from DIYing a planner. So now I'm going to share with you guys some of the supplies that I haven't mentioned yet. The paper of what I print all my inserts in here is this paper. It's 32 pound and it's literally already a half letter size paper. Now you can achieve the same by printing on letter paper and cutting that in half. I'm lazy. This is wonderful because I literally can stick this in my printer and it's done. All I need to do is hole punch it. Obviously you'll need some kind of inserts, and if you're going to print your own, obviously if you're using this kind of paper, there's a ton of inserts on Etsy that you can buy digital downloads for. The only other thing you'll need is the hole punch. So when I first got my Happy Planner years ago, I had purchased this Levenger, I guess this is called the portable punch, and this is cheap in terms of what punches go for, and it works well if you're only punching through one page at a time, not laminated. It's a very basic punch, and I managed to get this to give me a lot of trouble. When I started doing my own planner, I actually purchased this nice heavy-duty punch from Levenger. It was more money. I think it's worth every penny. It works so well. It punches through a lot of pages at a time. It punches through anything that I laminate. It really works on everything, and I'm really happy with this punch. And if you like my idea on how to do dashboards or dividers or whatever in the lazy way, this is basically the black cardstock that I use. It's just regular, nice, thick, 80-pound cover, heavyweight, 12 by 12 black cardstock. So I think that this would be something really easy that you could do, and you can actually make this really inexpensive. So I hope that this little walkthrough gave you an idea of maybe something that you can do for your own planning system, maybe something you want to try. If you do try to make your own, I would love to see how it turns out, so just leave me a comment down below. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them, so just leave them in the comments down below and I'll try to do my best. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys, and we'll see you again in the next one. Bye-bye.